me, along with the Auckland HOG Chapter, on a ride back from north. We went up to Ruakaka in the end, had a lovely meal at the Porthouse Bar and Grill, and I do emphasise this was pre-lockdown. This was filmed around about the end of July. I'll put another couple of reminders in there later in case people are concerned that we're flaunting the rules. We're not. The bikes are all locked up right now, not going anywhere, which is quite a shame, but it has to be what must be. Anyway, welcome along. So about 4 hours before this particular exit from the Porthouse Bar, we started our day at BP North and Dairy Flat, rode up State Highway 1 just a little way, and then from there we cut across to State Highway 16 at Kaukopakapa and rode up there through to Wellsford, which point we cut across, went through to Mangawai Heads, where we turned back towards the main State Highway 1, to the small settlement of Kaiwaka. Now there's a fantastic Italian donut shop there that we all enjoyed, so we stopped there for a bit of a break, and at this point it was, there'd been some pretty decent rain on the way. We were all needing a little bit of a break to clear our minds, and then carried on further up the road. We were going to go further afield, but ended up just going more or less direct up to Ruakaka, which is just a little bit south of Whangarei, up in Northland. This particular video is going to focus, its feature is going to be the Brynderwyn Hills, which are the range of hills that lie between Northland and Auckland, even though the Northland perimeter travels a little bit further south, in fact around about a point midway between Kaiwaka and Wellsford itself. So in any event though, the Brynderwyns have always seemed to me the spiritual place of the, you're travelling to Northland when you just cross the Brynderwyns. Speaking of which, we've now come across them on the way up. I did cut out a little bit of that journey back, we didn't need to see it all. But this is now, we've been travelling on flat for a while, and we're just now starting to climb up the Brynderwyns now. They're by no means a mountain range, but it's still a pretty decent set of hills. I wouldn't want to be walking up here, for example. On this, which is the northern side, we're travelling south right now. On the northern side, it's a lot more open. As you can see, the road's pretty open, 2-lane highway. As we cross the summit, which is coming up in a little bit, the descent down on the southern side, you'll see it's a lot more like a typical country road, I suppose, that you'd have around much of the North Island. Lots of twists and turns and bush close into the road. I should probably point out too, this video is going to be a little bit different than some of the others that I've put up, in that I'm showing the whole ride crossing the Brynderwyns from north to south in real time. It's the full ride, and the reason for that's twofold. There's a number of people that may never ever get to see this particular ride that might be interested to see just how does it look, how might it feel. The second one is that I'm missing this ride myself. We're presently in a state of lockdown. The chance of doing this ride presently is 0. So I guess the message is, don't miss any chance to get out there and get amongst it, to go riding. If you want to go riding by yourself, or with a pillion, or with a buddy, or 2, or 3, or more, just grab those chances, because you don't know how often they're going to come around, and when they might not be available to you at all. Just make the most of every day. It seems to be the best way to live, particularly in these uncertain times. Anyway, here we are now coming up towards the summit of the Brynderwyns. I think when the road narrows down to 1 lane, we're pretty much going to be on the flat, and then coming back down on the southern side of the hills. As we're coming up towards the summit, you can see that the bikes were all starting to come together a bit, and you can see, I guess some good examples of group riding, at least where everybody trusts themselves. We're breaking into single lanes here, but there's no fuss, no panic, nobody's pushing anybody to do anything that they don't want to or feel that they shouldn't be doing. You can also see just straight ahead there, the realignment for the staggered formation as the group of bikes from 2 lanes kind of merge into the 1. So typical staggered formation for group riding. it keeps everybody safe. There's room to manoeuvre from left to right should any incidents come up. Corners are your own. Do what you want with corners. Don't be worried about keeping into the staggered formation. As well, if your road is getting all chopped up in your particular line, don't keep that line. Move out of it. The point is to keep yourself safe, first and foremost. Be safe first. Now, we've obviously summited, and we're coming down the southern side of the Brynderwyns now. And I think at this stage you can see what I was talking about when I said that the nature of the road changed quite a lot from what you're presented with on the northern side, where it's much more open. This is really cut through with a whole lot of twists and turns. Bushes come quite close to the roads, and it's a skinny road going both directions. But it just makes it more interesting. I like the look of this road. To be honest, if I had choices of would I be riding through this side of the hill style of road versus what we had coming up, I'd prefer this. This is more interesting. It feels closer to nature somehow. And speaking of nature, it has been pretty wet this day, the day of the ride. We're all of us in full wet weather gear because it's been raining off and on most of the day. These roads are still pretty slippery, so there needs to be care taken throughout the ride, as always, just to make sure that, you know, no one gets added to the list of people that didn't make it across the Brynderwyns, and unfortunately that is quite a large list. They can be a little bit treacherous because they're often fog bound. No fog today, thank goodness. Very little rain, in fact, as we're coming through now, although we did pick up a lot of rain later in this ride, but we were in more open roads at that point, so good timing for us. And I think we can see now that we're coming away from the hills themselves. We've really, I guess you'd consider this as now we've crossed the Brynderwyns. We're now heading south, State Highway 1. This is the main highway south. You stay on this road, you're going to eventually come into motorways and you'll be going straight into Auckland City. Now, even though I mentioned motorways, we're a very long way from any motorways here. This more or less single lane road with the occasional passing lane is what passes as the main highway between linking Auckland City and Whangarei City, which is a little bit of a shame, bit of a disappointment, and many successive governments have promised to do something about it, but it just seems to be one of those never-ending dragging projects. I'm sure something will be done eventually, but until then, it is what it is. Anyway, as this ride, or at least this portion of the video, is coming to a close, we'll just start to wrap it up. Coming up on the right-hand side, there's an intersection that will take you up to Dargaville, a place called the Kauri Coast Ride, I think they call it. Another interesting place, we'll go there another day. But for now, take care wherever you are. Hopefully we'll all be back on the road one day soon and be able to enjoy these kinds of rides once more. Take care, stay safe. See you out there.